energy, money, and the environment.
Save money while saving the planet. Who knew?
Now you do. Visit njcleanenergy.com to learn even more.
Maybe we should change our nickname to the Clean Energy State.
A message from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hinnick.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Josh Hinnick.
Josh Hinnick back here on Game Night, a Friday edition on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. We will get to the Phillies and some of that conversation, but also we got some NFL talk to have. Andy McNamara coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I got some thoughts on the Eagles and the NFL because in the aftermath of the Trevor Lawrence contract, it's looking more and more that we don't appreciate, at least from my perspective, how great of a GM Howie Roseman. I know Howie Roseman is not the only GM who does this, but looking at the fact that a guy like Trevor Lawrence, a player who he's not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a very good quarterback right now, but he's not great. He's not elite, but the dude is being paid more money than Jalen Hurts is in terms of guaranteed $20 million more guaranteed than Jalen Hurts, and overall more money as well. In fact, his average annual value is on par with Joe Burrow. So we're going to get into some of that conversation today because I think that we do need to touch on maybe we need to start evaluating the quarterback position differently. But first, after the Phillies lost last night, I am chalking it up to a couple things. One, yes, you could argue that a team like the Phillies was going to they were going to lose a couple games here. I told you guys this last week and earlier this week here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike Gill has mentioned it multiple times on the Sports Bash. And it's not that we're sitting here saying that we think they should lose, but it's the fact that we understand that teams who have played in London before have had losing records when they come back to the States. And the Phillies losing in that series 2 out of 3 to Boston is pretty on par with our expectations. But another question coming out of it, which is, why did the Phillies stick so literally to their pitching rotation? Aaron Nola had 8 days off between starts. If he would have started his normal 5 days, he would have pitched on Sunday in London. And Aaron Nola has explicitly different numbers from when he starts 5 days rest versus more than 5 days. His ERA goes up half a run when he has more than 6 or more days off between starts. He allows more home runs, okay? He allows almost a home run per start on more than 6 days rest. Well, I had a home run last night. Compared to he allows a home run every other start when he has a full rest. So it's obvious to me that they should have started Nola on Sunday instead of Walker. Why they didn't do it? Well, it seems like the Phillies were very intent on staying on a certain schedule. And again, I understand the theory. I understand the idea that, hey, you want these guys to stay in the rhythm of the games. But what about the rhythm of the days? You could argue that Aaron Nola if you really cared about these guys staying in rhythm, staying on track, he should have started on Sunday. And I think that last night was a game where you basically were asking Aaron Nola to make up for the fact that this team doesn't have a clear answer coming out of the bullpen right now. It is a genuine concern that I have that they should have never brought Turnbull in to the game on Wednesday, because then you didn't have him available for yesterday. He would have been a perfect guy to bring in yesterday's game for mop-up duty. But instead, you had to call Gregory Soto and guys like him into the game last night. I think this was a miscalculation by the Phillies organization, not Rob Thompson specifically, by the Phillies organization. And now they got to go to Baltimore after losing 2 straight games. It is their 3rd straight road series that they have lost. And it's a good thing that the Phillies have offset their road issues with being a great home team, because you can afford to lose some road series if you are an elite home team. Now, I am curious tonight how this plays out, because in Baltimore, the stories are that the tickets are pretty much sold out for every game. There's tons of Philly fans going down to Baltimore for the Phillies-Orioles game. Is there going to be enough Philly fans to offset the Orioles in their own stadium? Because remember, if the Phillies are historically not a good road team, but now all of a sudden you put a bunch of Philly fans in those buildings, right? And you could argue that even though it was in London, there were way more Phillies fans than Mets fans in the London stadium. So if the Phillies typically win more games than they lose in front of their home fans, could the fans change the environment of the game this weekend? Also, one more story I'm watching for this weekend with the Phillies. I want to see how the bullpen gets used this weekend, because Ranger Suarez is going to be starting tonight. And we know anything about Ranger Suarez, we know how gifted of a pitcher he is. But what version of Ranger are we going to get? This is going to be his first start in a week. Remember, pitchers usually go every 5 days. It's been a week. Now, some of you out there may be saying, but Josh, he had basically almost a week off in between his last 2 starts as well. That is true. But getting a lot of time off is not always a good thing, right? He had basically a week off from when he got his hand, the line drive off of his hand, to last weekend. So now he's getting another 7 days off between starts. Not literal 7 days, but practically 7 days off. And I'm just curious to find out, what does Ranger look like on another long turnaround? Does it benefit him? Is he not as sharp? Saturday, you got Taijuan Walker. We'll see how he'll hold up against one of the best offenses in baseball, the Baltimore Orioles. And then Sunday, you got an elite pitching matchup. Zach Wheeler, Corbin Burns, eye for an eye, blow for blow. I'm looking forward to that matchup a lot. So very fascinating weekend for the Phillies in Baltimore for they return home for a 6-game set in Philadelphia. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how I'll get your text in a little bit at 609-403-0973 and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. So I mentioned about the Trevor Lawrence deal. So for those who didn't see it, Trevor Lawrence is now the 4th highest guaranteed quarterback money in all the NFL. And his contract is worth the same amount of money as Joe Burrow, which to some people may say, why on earth are you giving that guy so much money? Well, you're giving that guy so much money because I think the Jags realize that he is going to go down as the best quarterback they've ever had. And the fact that he hasn't always had the best supporting cast around him in Jacksonville, and he's still putting up over 4,000 passing yards back-to-back seasons. I mean, the guy is already one of the best quarterbacks in the franchise's history, and they felt like they had to lock him down. And I think the problem is, I was listening to Michael Lombardi on the GM Shuffle, and he was talking about how we look at quarterback and their contracts wrong. We're so focused on how much money he can make, how many years the guy gets. Is he on the rookie deal? Is he on the extension? And Michael Lombardi says that all doesn't matter. And he says that, you need to have money to build the team around the quarterback. And he explains why the Philadelphia Eagles, unlike some teams, are smart at building around the quarterback, like Jalen Hurts.
The Eagles, they did a really smart deal. The Eagles were smart about it. They went ahead and did Hurts' deal. He said 6.8% of the cap this year. Now, he's going to go up, but they can continue to sign their guys. It's a percentage of how much money you're giving them over the years of the contract. So that gives you room to kind of rebuild your team around it.
It's a fascinating perspective, because what you're basically saying is that the Eagles, even though they have guaranteed Jalen Hurts all this money, the money against the cap is so small that it doesn't matter how much money they've guaranteed, no matter how much they give him at signing. What matters, he says, is that what it is against the cap. And it makes me wonder, have we been misevaluating these quarterbacks? It doesn't matter how much money they make. All it matters is how much money is against the cap. And he explains that one of the teams that did a horrible job at managing the quarterback and what he counts against the cap are the New York Giants.
The Giants, they're at 19.3 of their cap is spent for Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. Jones, so we get this straight, he's 6-21 against teams that went on to make the playoffs. He's 0-11 against teams that have won 12 or more games. And he's the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to have a contract in excess of $100 million and never have a season of throwing over 3,500 yards or 25 touchdowns.
Think about that. The Giants are spending 13% of their cap on quarterbacks than the Eagles. And the Eagles guy is going to make more money. And I know some of you are saying, well, why are the Eagles the only team that does this? The truth is they're not. And I think that's the key of the conversation. The Eagles don't have the only smart GM. So why doesn't every team operate like these teams?
This year, Burrow, he's at 12% of the cap. Josh Allen, 11.8. Even Tua, if he gets a new contract, he's at 11.1 because of his option year. You have to have the contract so that the percentage doesn't eat away the whole team. Burrow is the highest paid quarterback in the league. But right now, he only counts for 12% of their contracts. Same thing with Lamar. He's only at 12%.
So this is the thing. This is the cross that we're at, the crossing point, the fork in the road. The Eagles, the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Bills all gave their quarterbacks contracts that did not handcuff them when it came to building around their players. So if the Bengals, who have never been known for being a good cap organization, the Ravens, who are one of the best run organizations in the NFL, the Bills, who do have a very good general manager in Brandon Beane, why are all those teams like the Eagles willing to do this? But other teams like the Cowboys and the Giants are incapable of doing this. We'll get deeper into the conversation. Andy McNamara joins me coming up next. Talk some quarterbacks and some football here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City.
This weekend on ESPN Radio, one of the fiercest rivalries in sports begins another chapter.
Crushes one. For the monster.
The AL East leading New York Yankees storm into Fenway Park to go head-to-head with the Boston Red Sox.
It is a rivalry marinated in history, home runs, and haymakers.
The Yankees at the Red Sox. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern, with first pitch at 7:15 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball all season on 97.3 ESPN.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Corvette, excludes prior sales.
Don't buy a car anywhere until you hear this. Bennett Chevy must sell 200 vehicles immediately. So right now, brand new Chevys are on sale at the GM supplier employee price. That's right, you pay what we pay. Plus, you keep all the rebates, saving you as much as 10% off MSRP. You heard right, you get both GM supplier employee prices, plus you get all the rebates up to 10% off MSRP. And because Bennett must move 200 new and used vehicles, we'll give you a minimum $10,000 for any rotted out old clunker, even if it was on fire. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for any clunker towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. These are real deals you won't get anywhere else but Bennett Chevy. So you must hurry for best selection. With deals like this, nobody beats a Bennett deal, and I mean nobody. Together, let's drive at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
I plan to rearrange my closet, but I stopped after picking the clothes up off the floor.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's award-winning language learning app will help you start speaking another language. Start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Comment tu t'appelles?
Comment tu t'appelles? Vous êtes où?
Vous êtes où?
Babbel's bite-sized lessons make it easy to learn words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel est amusant et facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue. Et cela ne prend que 15 minutes par jour.
when you want to really learn another language, it starts with Babbel. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. And here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The Home Depot has Father's Day gifts for everything Dad does, from groundskeeping to clippings. Milwaukee cordless outdoor tools with gas-like power are perfect gifts. The Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
The Phillies fell at Boston and continue against the AL East tonight. I'm Nick Earnshaw with your South Jersey Sports Center and your 97.3 ESPN question of the day. The Phillies fell twice against the Boston Red Sox and lost 3 of 4 games, so that got us thinking here at 97.3 ESPN. Do you believe the London series had something to do with the hangover and the losses against the Boston Red Sox? Let us know by texting 609-403-0973 or use the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. I think it might have had a little bit to do with it. The time change, all of that could be a factor for the Phillies losing 2-3 to Boston. Now you go up against the AL East Orioles. This is going to be a tough one in Baltimore. So let us know by texting 609-403-0973. Your thoughts, your forecast is next.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Scattered thunderstorms pushing to the south and east this evening. Rain, wind, even some hail possible. When thunder roars, head indoors. Rain should wrap up around midnight tonight, give or take, and then we'll see clearing skies overnight. Low temperature 66. We're right back to sunshine tomorrow. Nice weekend, low humidity, a bit cooler too. High of 81 tomorrow. Clouds and sun, and 78 for Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at Jester's Dive Bar for just $25.
This great deal is on sale now at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll get back to the text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. You see how, but joining us right now as promised, Andy McNamara is back to talk some NFL here on 97.3 ESPN. As Trevor Lawrence got paid last night. Talk some quarterbacks with Andy as well as the NFL. Welcome back, my friend. How are you doing today?
Josh, I'm well, sir. I hope you can hear me okay. We had some power surges. So the camera, my laptop I usually use in the studio, everything's blitzed out. So I'm on a backup laptop here.
Well, you sound loud and clear and clean. So you got that going for you.
Okay, that's good. That's what we want to hear. And hey, Trevor Lawrence. That's the thing, Josh, what we were talking about before. If you delay in paying your quarterback, even if you don't think they're as good as a particular franchise quarterback, they're going to get more. Every new quarterback contract is the biggest one ever in some regard. And we just saw Trevor Lawrence get a whole pile of money.
It's interesting, though, because even though his projected total value is on par with Joe Burrow, he doesn't have the number one, number two, or number three highest guaranteed money.
Right.
And he's only $20 million ahead of Jalen Hurts. And it kind of, I was saying before you came on, for me, Andy, tell me what you think. It kind of felt like the Jags were saying, we're not going to find anybody better than this guy, so we better sign him now.
That is exactly what this smells of. It's like, have you seen some of the rookies that come out? They're not all good. They don't all work out.
He's the only one who worked out from his class.
Yes, I saw that graphic. Oh my, that was what? Who was it? Mac Jones? Terrible.
Well, Mac Jones is his backup.
Oh, you're right. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, just horrendous. Terrible. That's the thing. You have all these, and that draft year, and every draft year is like, this is the best quarterback class. Like, okay, well, not always. And Trevor Lawrence proved to be. And I also feel the Jags are saying, hey, we're paying you this money for what we still think you will become. Not a contract that, if you pay Patrick Mahomes for what you did. This is still betting on him to get better.
It's interesting, though, because I was asking the question, do we need to stop evaluating these quarterbacks, though, based on some of this money? Because isn't it any more important what you put around the quarterback at this point than it is how much you're spending on the quarterback?
A lot of it, yes. It has to be. Unless you have that super rare freak talent. But even so, you still need to make sure he's protected. Let's look at Andrew Luck. Remember that guy? Great talent. Got the you-know-what beat out of him and retired. He's in the mountains or something somewhere. He got so beat up, he doesn't want to look at a football anymore.
That's true.
So yeah, you have to build around. And we saw if you can get a quarterback that can either fit in your particular system or you protect him or you get the weapons around him, you can make a run. And it all is about, can you get to the Super Bowl in that rookie contract window? Because after you have to pay your guy, it gets a whole lot tougher.
It's weird, though, because, we talked about this before you came on. Michael Lombardi was explaining this about how it's the percentage of the cap that matters more than the grand total. And I hate to break it to you, But your Browns are one of those culprits, okay?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Let me play you the audio where Lombardi, which is weird because the Browns GM is from the Eagles organization, Andrew Berry.
Yeah.
You would think he would know better, but Michael Lombardi explains it here.
It's about percentage of the cap that's most important. And like this year, Jalen Hurts is only taking up 6% of the Eagles' cap because of the way they structured the contract. Deshaun Watson's taking up 25% of the cap. So when you take up so much of the cap in terms of percentage, it's really challenging for your team to get to where it needs to go because you're counting on the rest of your team not having injuries going through it.
Yeah. Wow. Those percentages.
6% versus 25%.
That's just, well, here's the difference. The Eagles organization, the GM group, the front office wanted to draft Jalen Hurts. I can assure you, the Browns front office and coaching staff, if you go back and look at the opening press conference from when it was announced that Deshaun Watson was traded for, and you see the look on Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski's face, those are the faces of, well, the owner told us to do this, and let's hope this works out. They had to do it that way. Now, I guess the benefit is each year with the new TV money and all that, like the cap went up how much this past year. Maybe these contracts that are in place now won't have as much of an adverse effect on the rosters as the cap keeps going up.
But again, to Lombardi's point, it's the percentage, not the money. So, for example, like he explained on his show, and I'm not going to play all the audio here.
Sure.
You and I are having a conversation. Andy McNamara joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, host of the Sick Podcast at AndyMC81 on Twitter X. He's talking about how like Josh Allen only accounts for 11% of his team's cap. Joe Burrow is only 12%. Lamar Jackson only 11%. So it's like, you don't have to be an idiot, NFL teams. Like, there are other NFL teams not giving all that money. Like, the Giants quarterbacks account together between Daniel Jones and Drew Lock for almost 20% of their team's cap. Dak Prescott accounts for 20% of his team's cap. Like, how do you as an organization say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to be the idiots. We're going to be the ones that mess up this contract.
Right. Well, it's showing that there are ways by much smarter mathematicians and accountants than us to structure these contracts so that you can get those benefits. I'm not going to try to pretend to explain that I know how to do that because I don't, but it's proof that you can. These other quarterbacks you mentioned made a lot of money, and to only have it be that much of a percentage to be able to then use that other capital around the team, like we talked about, to build up, to re-sign and keep your good players. The great teams draft and then keep their good players.
Correct.
That's the big difference.
And by the way, the other audio I want to play for you, because people are probably going to say, well, what about Patrick Mahomes, right?
Right.
I want Andy McNamara's reaction to this explanation of the Chiefs and Mahomes winning the Super Bowl last year. You ready, my friend?
I'm ready.
When the Chiefs won last year, if you go through their team, he had 17% of the cap, which is the highest cap hold of any quarterback going back to Steve Young that won a Super Bowl. Okay, that's the highest it's been. But they got away with it because their team was so young. They had 10 rookies make their team. 64 of their 90-some players who were on the roster were on basically minimum contracts.
So what you're telling me, Andy, is that it's been 30 years since a quarterback held that much of a cap hold as Patrick Mahomes did last year, which basically sounds like to me, if your team are the idiots who can't manage the cap, we might as well disqualify you from winning a championship.
Right. Yeah, unless you have one of the generational talents like Patrick Mahomes. That's the only saving grace. If you put under that structure, I would wager if you put just about any other quarterback with the Chiefs, that's probably not working out. It's probably not happening.
100%.
That's very interesting. And especially when you have, you're paying Travis Kelce, you have this youth, but the Chiefs, if they get their breaks with, drafting Xavier Worthy and having those young pieces. And it's interesting how they're doing it because Mahomes is getting so much money. So they have to almost do that reverse strategy of, all right, well, the quarterback's getting all this cash. We have to make sure we're hitting and competing and winning championships with everybody else under these rookie contracts. And I think what we're going to see, as long as Mahomes plays with this contract, is the Chiefs are going to be a team that isn't able to re-sign their guys, their superstars potentially, because of that Mahomes number.
But remember, the Mahomes number goes up and down every year. So it's
you
like
can
every
tweak it,
other year he makes a lot of money. So it's like if like the Chiefs can literally be like, we're just going to stagger all of our contracts every other year.
Yeah.
So it's like in the years that Mahomes is down, Kelsey and Jones make their money, and then they go down, Mahomes goes up, and like, you know, everybody gets paid that way.
The mental gymnastics, like there really is the unsung heroes in the NFL are these like the accountants, really.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a salary cap specialist, a guru who knows how to make these numbers dance for you, what an advantage. Like it really is, right? Like if you can make these numbers work for you, then you can do all sorts of things. So that's certainly a talent I don't have, and I wish I did.
By the way, remember I told you that Mac Jones is now Trevor Lawrence's backup, right?
Yeah.
So, you know,
Gross.
Trevor Lawrence, he gets the $200 million guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
Well, I found Mac Jones's updated Tinder profile picture.
I saw that. Is that real? That's not his Tinder.
That's real.
Is that real? That's real. I saw it
So
the other day.
apparently the Jags are doing this big promotion with like a local dealership, and different players had to go out and do these like photo shoots at the dealership. And Mac Jones was one of the guys who had to do the picture shots. And like,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of impressive. It's like, Mac Jones gonna have a really good year. Let's put it that way. And I don't mean on the field.
Does this car dealership want to sell cars to football fans? Because you don't use Mac Jones. You don't use
anybody in Jacksonville know that.
I think the London fans probably know that more. Yeah. Well, like the most uninspiring fan base is the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Like no other team is like, yeah, we'll give up home revenue because like people might not come. You go to London a whole bunch. It's such a weird franchise. But look, they're set up. They got pieces to be able to compete. It's now the Houston Texans that you got to worry about. So we'll see if that window has closed for the Jags before it really even opened.
It's just so ridiculous to me. I mean, it's like the poor guy goes, and Mac Jones actually had a good rookie year. People forget about that. But everything went downhill once Matt Patricia got his hands on him.
Oh, and that his real name I found out is McCorkle. That's my takeaway. My memory of Mac Jones in 20 years will be his name is McCorkle. Sensational.
Andy McNamara joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh and Nick hanging out with you guys on a Friday night. I took some football on a Friday with Andy McNamara. Speaking of football, I wanted to get from you because, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, picks and odds and all this stuff. And I started thinking about, I started seeing like some of like the win totals out there. And it's like, you start looking at some of these divisions, right? You know, some of these NFL divisions, and you start seeing who the favorites are, right? And I'm starting to wonder if the favorites should be the favorites. Okay.
Okay.
So I figure we play a little game here, right?
All right.
So I'm going to pull up on the screen in a moment, but I want to start with the NFC South because the betting favorite is the Atlanta Falcons. Andy McNamara, I want to know from you, should they be the betting favorite?
That is probably the biggest opening for a division to be able to say it's a pick 'em. It really is. Should they be? Like, no. You know why? I don't think so. Because when you look at the Falcons, there's still so many question marks. Okay, you have Kirk Cousins. Is he healthy? You weirdly drafted Michael Penix Jr., who was, if he had a clean bill of health through his college career, would be my favorite quarterback in this draft. So I don't hate it, but you could have added something else. There's way too many question marks. I would say the true favorite should be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got Baker back. You got the crew back. It's a weak division. And I think that the Bucs are more stable right now and should be the favorite.
Bucs plus 310. So you like those odds?
I would take that. Absolutely. Over the Falcons. What have the Falcons done to earn not a problem respect? Now we know the Panthers aren't winning. They're terrible. The Saints are as vanilla as can be. But this again is like we're going to see what the 9-8 win the division, right? Like that's what it seems like. So all three, Falcons, Bucks, and Saints, are all going to hang around that number. I just think the Buccaneers are the most stable.
Yeah, I've been saying for months now the Bucks are my pick. I know people don't agree with me, but I can't be moved off of this until I see otherwise. I gotta see the Falcons do some winning before I hand them the crown over here.
So many options on offense too. Like there's so much like fantasy potential. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. Oh, if you can get a competent offense going and the quarterback can be stable, you could have an explosive, really fun offense. But I'm with you.
Could being the key word.
Here's the thing, Josh. Whenever I find myself saying ifs and coulds too much about a situation, I'm like, maybe that's not such a sure thing. I'm totally with you. I think the Falcons, you got to prove it. Give me the Bucks.
You did a little Chris Mad Dog Russo impersonation there.
A little bit. There you go.
You pulled that out of your bag. I didn't know you had that in you. A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit.
I can't do a Mad Dog impersonation at all. So, all right. So the other one I want to hit on, because for on the screen for you there, I think Buffalo at plus 170 is one of the dumbest bets in the world. Because I will ask anyone listening to us on 97.3 ESPN, who is Josh Allen throwing the ball to?
I know.
If nobody out in our audience, unless they are like a diehard like football junkie or Bills fan, can tell me anyone who plays receiver for Buffalo. But yet I'm supposed to believe the Bills, who dumped half their roster due to salary cap restrictions and trade away Stephon Diggs, that team all of a sudden should be the favorite to win the division.
Josh, we got Khalil Shakir, okay, a 3 maybe on a decent team, not even a great team, a decent team, maybe a wide receiver 3. Keon Stonehand Coleman, okay, he's got size. Can he catch? I'll tell you, I have one of my oldest buddies in broadcasting, and now lives in Carolina. He's a diehard Bills fan. I was like, hey, when he got drafted, I was like, hey, Coleman has good hands. He's like, Andy, he's like, I know all about Coleman down here. He's like, this is terrible. he is not happy. And Curtis Samuel, who's a nice kind of gadget guy,
gadget guy, exactly.
He's fine, right? But nothing. Okay, let's look at the back. Maybe there's depth here, Josh. Maybe there's depth. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, your guy, he catches 2 balls for touchdowns a year on a highlight reel. That's it. Chase Claypool is a head case and he stinks. He's more interested in TikTok and in video games. Mac Hollins is just a guy. Your best weapon on offense right now is Dalton Kincaid and tight end.
You've got KJ Hamler, by the way.
You got you got Hamler. Come on, old Denver Bronco. You know what's fun? I know KJ Hamler. I had an autographed rookie KJ Hamler jersey patch card. Didn't get much for it, Josh. Let me tell you. Didn't get much for that one. And Andy Isabella. Andy at 5'0". Andy Isabella zipping around a little water spider. There's just not much there, which means this. You're going to have Josh Allen play more hero ball, be more reckless, use his body more to try to do everything himself, which eventually will lead to injury.
Correct.
So that money for the Bills, do I think that out of that weak AFC East, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills won because
I
of
would
the
be
state
shocked.
of their.
I'd totally be shocked.
Who else is going to take it?
The Jets,
Dolphins?
The Dolphins.
Oh, Jets. The Jets are the second favorites, right?
Yes.
That's garbage. Jets are no, not interested in the Jets. Dolphins maybe, and they'll flame out in the playoffs, but they're paper tigers. They're stars in October.
I'm not asking about the playoffs. I'm asking to win the division.
I think if it's not the Bills, I think the Dolphins have the better chance.
I mean, Andy, we got hardworking people out there. It's a rough economy down here in the United States. If people are going to be spending their hard-earned money on the betting window, I'm not telling them to go bet the Bills at plus 170. No. I'm saying Dolphins at plus 200, Jets at plus 190. I feel safer there.
I would say if I'm putting money down, I would go Dolphins. As long as you don't have to. Look, I'll say this, though. You better be careful if you're a Dolphins fan, because you have the monster of all egos, Odell Beckham Jr. We've talked about when the last time he was relevant, Josh. Barack Obama was president. For real. Okay? He's on the team. Hey, who else has a big ego? Oh, Tyreek Hill. That could be fun.
Oh, did you see the story that Tyreek Hill didn't recognize Tua because he was in such good shape?
Really?
Apparently Tua, well, so those didn't see. Tua looks significantly like more fit. Like he
Okay.
looked fluffy last year, right?
Good. You're a professional football player. Good. Get in shape.
So he came in to like mini camp, like basically like shredded. Like he looks like he's ready to go fight somebody,
Okay.
right? And he
All
got a
right.
new haircut. Like he looks like a professional. And Tyreek Hill said, I didn't recognize him. I was like, who's this guy coming in to play quarterback? And then he saw him throw the ball. That's when he realized it was Tua.
That's funny. Really? Shit. Like if you can get Odell out of the way, he is so washed for years. I don't know. Good on his agent for getting him this money. He's terrible. He's listed as a starter. Disgusting. Shouldn't be happening. But you still got Tyreek Hill. You got Jalen Waddle. The pieces around. You got that lengthy running back committee that can work it out. So yeah, if we're talking AFC East, I'll put my money on the Dolphins over the Bills right now. Sure.
Another division I want to ask you about is your division, the AFC North.
Tough.
Ravens plus 130, Bengals plus 145, Browns, the long shot, plus 600, Steelers. I mean, if Russell Wilson plays competently, the Steelers could be a contender at plus 850.
I'm hearing out of Steelers land that Russell Wilson is looking very ordinary. Justin Fields is a camp rock star. He will wow you with athleticism, and then when the ball gets snapped, he gets confused by defenses. It's not great.
Well, here's the thing, though, Andy. You remember the Steelers last year. You and I talked about it. You were like, you and I both said if the Steelers had a competent quarterback, you'd be scared of them. But because their quarterbacks were Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and all those guys over the years, you just been sitting there as a Browns fan being like, when the Steelers coming up on the schedule?
Yeah. It's can Russell Wilson be good? Sure. Those stats were deceiving in Denver last year. People I know who are Broncos fans are like, Andy, this guy, forget the stat. This guy's washed. I'm not ready to go there. I'm not ready to say he's totally washed up, but maybe he is. Like the Steelers really don't have to stick with him at all. They paid him the league minimum because of the Denver contract on a 1-year deal. Justin Fields the same. So they can maneuver. The Steelers are always going to be good enough to give you a go and be around 500. That's just what they are. So I'm knocking the Steelers out of who I want to bet on.
So we're down to 3.
Boy, what were the Bengals numbers there? They were the next one, right?
Yeah, it's on the screen there for you. It's plus 145.
Oh, that's not very interesting. Yeah, like I would probably say the Bengals. Lamar Jackson stayed healthy finally, and they won. Do they have the team around them to get 13 wins again? I don't think so. Can Joe Burrow stay healthy?
No faith in Derrick Henry?
Like people, and on the fantasy side, I'm going to draft Derrick Henry. Please, if you're in my league, please draft Derrick Henry because Lamar Jackson is going to be running the ball. That's how it is. Maybe he'll get on touchdown only leagues, whatever, from the one. Okay, fine. Lamar Jackson is the lead running back still. That has not changed. You have Derrick Henry, who has all the miles on him in the world. Cool. That's fine. Have at it. The Browns probably, Josh, here's the interesting part. In this division, the Browns have the best roster top to bottom except at quarterback.
Correct.
Look at defense. Defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett. Defensive assistant coach of the year, Jim Schwartz. You got a terrific defense. You got on offense, Amari Cooper, assuming he gets his contract figured out, which I think
and Njoku had a great year last year.
Phenomenal. The offensive line is stellar. Nick Chubb is going to be out probably till November, but you have a good enough committee. They're going to be slinging the ball up. The Browns are the real wild card. I would say if you're looking for value, this division I don't think is going to be too far apart. They're going to cannibalize each other. I would say the Browns have the best shot at that money to give you the best value. Other than that, I would say the Bengals, but plus 145. That's not too spicy.
Browns are plus 600 through $10 on that. That could pay off.
Let's go. And look, if Deshaun Watson, and right before he got injured last year, he came in and dissected the Ravens for a Browns win. Dissected, picked them apart, was perfect, 11 for 11. Then that glenoid bone thing in his shoulder happened. So, again, Josh, I'm saying the words if. I'm saying the words could a lot, which means we don't know. But if, I'll say it again, if he does stay healthy, and if he can get anywhere close to his 2019 Houston form, this Browns team is going to win the division. That's just the big if with Deshaun Watson.
Right. division, before I let you go, the final one I want to ask you about, Andy McNamara, host of the Sick Podcast, joining me here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. NFC North. Lions are plus 150. Packers plus 210. Which way you leaning between those two?
So, okay, let's knock one off first. So the Vikings, no. JJ
I didn't
McCarthy.
mention the Vikings.
No, I'm just
the Vikings.
I'm just going through the. If we're gonna knock things off, it keeps. Hey, plus 1,000. JJ McCarthy is a slightly better Mac Jones. Stop it. And you got Sam Darnold. Dead eyes. No. Poor Justin Jefferson. Oh man, get your money. Then you got the Bears with Caleb Williams.
By the way, you know what's going to happen to the Vikings. I can tell you right now.
Okay.
Sam Darnold is going to have a good start to the year. And then like week 4 or 5, he's going to be injured for the year, knocked out of the game. And here comes JJ McCarthy. He won't be able to run the offense the way Darnold will. And the Vikings will end the year like 7-10.
And do it that way. I agree with you, except for the part where Sam Darnold plays well.
You just got to remember who the coach is. If Kevin O'Connell is if he's worth his weight and what he's getting paid, right, as a coach and as a quarterback guru guy, right, he'll get something out of Darnold.
He'll need some magic, man. But so let's wipe the Vikings out. The Bears with Caleb Williams, not ready to win the division yet. Will they be better? No. I think there's really not much place else to go than up. I like the story of the Lions, but Josh, we've seen this before. Team comes out of nowhere, hops up, and then the next year, poof, comes back down. Don't you kind of get that vibe a little bit from the Lions? I can't necessarily put my finger on anything specific, but I'm getting like, okay, Dan Campbell, that was fun. What happens when things don't go well? What happens when you go on a 3-game losing streak? Does Dan Campbell's message get stale? Does it get stale quick? The Packers with Jordan Love, I got to say, I was impressed with how Jordan Love rebounded after a midseason slump and came back. I think I'm putting my money on the Packers.
You forgot to mention one guy at the Packers I think is important. The most important guy when it comes to the Packers, Josh Jacobs. If Josh Jacobs has a big year, watch out.
They'll need him. That's a good point, because you have to try to take and not put everything on the shoulders of Jordan Love. Now, again, if we talk about surprise, with the Lions, how they finished and came back, I wouldn't be shocked if they won the division. I hope they do, quite honestly. I think it's a good, fun story. But I've seen it before, man. Like I saw it in the 2007 Browns, where they were all out of nowhere, and then people get a little full of themselves. And you come back down to earth, or you're one injury away. And there are other examples. So I think the Lions could fall into that pack. But you're right. You got Josh Jacobs. You still have A.J. Dillon as that nice compliment. Watson, Dubs, Reed, nice combo, right? Luke Musgrave, decent tight end. Like, you're not world beaters, but is it good enough to win the NFC North? I think so.
Andy, tell the folks about the Sick Podcast, what you got going on at AndyMC81 on Twitter X.
Oh, well, we're going through each Browns 2024 opponent each week on the show. So we started with the Dallas Cowboys and Michael Fabiano. That episode is up. If you're a fantasy football player, you got to listen to that one on YouTube. The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, on X at SickPodBrowns, Instagram at AndyMC Sports. We go over that. So eventually, Josh, the Eagles play the Browns. So I'm going to be having you on the show, sir. So we go through that. We go through some fantasy football stuff. So check that out.
I'm looking forward to that conversation. Browns, Eagles in Philadelphia, by the way.
Yes, and you know what? A lot of, like you talked about, a lot of respect between these front offices and coaching staff.
Yep.
On both sides. So it's
also Jim Schwartz, his homecoming.
Of course. Yeah, like that. That's going to be a really good test for the Browns against a organization, despite the troubles at the end of last year, I know, but overall, kind of a well-oiled machine, right?
It's also, not to take away too much from their podcast, but we'll talk about this at another point. Also, great test for the Eagles, because remember, no more Jason Kelce. So how does Cam Jurgens and the new refurbished Eagles offensive line handle the Jim Schwartz type of defense? Because the Eagle fans know very well. They didn't like the fact that Jim Schwartz didn't blitz much. But you know what Jim Schwartz does? He tells his boys to hunt. And if he's going to tell those boys to pin their ears back, that front four, and just go hunting, how do the Eagles handle that?
Well, and we see you're not afraid to move Myles Garrett around, where he does the fake basketball crossover and has people run into each other You picked up Quentin Jefferson from the Jets, which I love that pickup at D tackle. You drafted Michael Hall out of Ohio State. You still have Zadarius Smith, Okoronkwo on the other side of rotation. So that front four is going to be brutal. You're right. For the Eagles side, that will be a very interesting test at that point in the season when they cross paths.
And one more factoid I got for you. You could hold on to this to the next time we talk. Okay, my friend?
All right.
Lane Johnson has not allowed a sack since he played Myles Garrett.
Oh, really? Ooh, okay.
Think about
All
that.
All right.
Chew on that little piece of gum I just handed you.
Interesting. That's right. A little flavor there. Okay, I dig it. I like. It's gonna be fun. And look, this is what I think. There's 5 weeks off to the camp. This is like the one down period of the NFL calendar where they haven't thought of yet to manufacture some event. I'm sure they will, Josh. There's no way they're going to sit on and say 5 weeks of nothing. They're going to come up with something to make people talk about the NFL.
Well, listen, we're talking about the NFL because the NBA finals are basically done. The Stanley Cup finals are basically done. The U.S. Open is out of sight, out of mind, right? So it's like,
yeah,
right?
Well,
football.
Well, there's football, and again, we can talk futures bets. We can talk fantasy football prep. It's all good. You can always talk NFL.
I mean, I'm certainly not have you come on here talk about the Blue Jays.
That is the most boring team. My God, that offense sucks. Just terrible. I heard they might. There's rumors they might trade Bo Bichette to Cleveland. It's a rumor I heard.
Weird. It's weird though because they won 10 out of 15 games at one point, and then they optioned Biggio because he basically was doing nothing, and then they trade him to the Dodgers. It's like they got to get out of here.
I'll tell you, I have I'm looking at it right now. I have a gorgeous Alek Manoah, Blue Jay starter, autographed on card auto rookie card, and it is just taunting me. It's worth zip right now, Josh. It's a great card. And he's so much talent. They did a comparison. He's like bigger than Travis Kelce. He's a monster, but he's in and out of the lineup. Blue Jays are super boring this year. I'm not really that engaged in the baseball scene because of it this season. It's disappointing because I do love my baseball.
All right, Andy, we'll talk to you later.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Andy Mack, always great to talk to him here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll check it back on the text board coming up next as we wrap up the Power Hour, known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Friday evening, the weekend of Father's Day weekend here on 97.3 ESPN.
Saturday morning in the locker with Billy Schwein, producer Nick Earnshaw, and Mike Carlin join me in the studio. Hour 1, we will talk with legendary sports radio talk show host Angelo Cataldi. Hour 2, the sportsbook consigliere Dave Sherpan checks in from Las Vegas on the NBA and NHL playoffs. Next, it's the Beach Patrol Report, brought to you by McCann Realtors and the Ocean City Lifeguard Alumni Association. This week, we'll talk with the chief of the Wildwood Beach Patrol, Steve Stocks. It's a locker with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smokers Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smokers Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
Stop by Sherwin-Williams and get 30% off Super Paint products and Super Deck stains from June 14th through the 24th. It's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. Like 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. Switch today.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Here at Total Wine & More, our amazing selection means you'll always
love what you find.
Dad, what are you doing here?
Just getting a sneak peek at my Father's Day gifts.
Well, I was thinking of getting you this Barrel Select bourbon.
That's a really nice bottle.
And Total Wine has it at the totally lowest price.
Wow, you always were my favorite.
Thanks, Dad.
Talking to the bourbon, sweetie.
Find what you love what you find. Like the perfect gift for Dad at the perfect price. Only at Total Wine & More.
And drink responsibly. B21.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect Guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus, same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. And 7/6, visit staples.com/print for details.
It's the Nissan Thrill of Summer sales event going on now at Matt Blatt's Nissan. You'll be thrilled in a new Nissan Sentra S, just $159 per month lease, or Kicks S, just $199 per month lease, and 0 security deposit.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
You heard right. New Matt Blatt Nissan Kicks S, just $199 per month, or Sentras, only $159 per month lease, both with 0 security deposit, $29.99 due, and you'll be cruising up to 39 miles per gallon. Stuck in a loan or lease? AJ the Trade Man can get you released, so don't repair it, don't fix the broken windshield, don't even wash it. Bring it to MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit for NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Then RY 324-390 and RI 498-444. Central lease selling price $21,570. Kicks lease selling price $22,840. Offer ends 7/6/2024. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All right, wrapping up the hour. Thanks again to Annie McNamara for joining us. Don't forget, folks, this week, Seize the Deal offer. Get a $50 gift certificate for just $25 to Jester's Dive Bar in Rio Grande. The deal is now live at seizethedeal.com. So a $50 gift certificate, half off. But you got to go to seizethedeal.com to get your deal right now. And also, one more time before we get out of here, I want to shout out the guys over at Gusto Brewing and Major League Brews. I mean, this can that they came up with for the EFIS pitch beer with the Philly Fanatic on the front, dressed up in the London Royal garb. Such a cool can. It's good beer, too. You know, it's with the hops from England itself. I wrote a hard article about 973 ESPN.com last week, but shout out to Gusto Brewing down there in North Cape May. Phillies back in action this weekend. We'll see if they can get some wins down in Baltimore. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small. Can't wake up without it. Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.